Today for you, I'm going to make a homemade version of kind of like a Pop-Tart, uh, but I would say more closely resembles a pie because the crust is much, much flakier, and then the filling can be any pie filling. It could be cherry, strawberry, apple, Nutella if you like that. Today I'm going to make you two different kinds, one with the cherry filling and then one with a chocolate caramel filling. And those are both very delicious. This comes together quickly if you have a store-bought pie crust. I'm going to make today with the store-bought pie crust, but if you make your own pie crust, this also would be very delicious with that. So it's very easy to make. It's delicious. It makes a great snack. It's a nice pastry to have with a cup of coffee or a cup of tea. So come along with me as we make our homemade Pop-Tart or mini hand pies. So to make our homemade uh, Pop-Tart, I guess I would call it, or mini hand pies, I need a good quality pie crust. This is from Trader Joe's, and I really like this pie crust. And then any flavor preserves you want, or you can even use Nutella. Today I'm going to be using cherry preserves, and I like this brand. This is a really good brand of preserves. And then I have an egg, and that's just basically for an egg wash so that the dough sticks together. And so that's it. That's all we need. And then we will make icing later once the tarts have cooled. So let's go ahead and see how to make our tarts. So the Trader Joe's brand of pie crust comes in a rectangular shape. So you get two pie crust. So the Trader Joe's brand of pie crust comes in a package of two. So they're like this. So the hardest part of this recipe is just thawing the pie crust. You don't want to rush it. So I thawed this overnight in the refrigerator, and then I'm leaving it at room temperature for about half hour just to make sure that it doesn't crack or break. And then I have on my counter parchment paper, and I'm just going to unfold it on this one and then put the filling in and then bake it. It's easy as that. So first we're gonna go ahead and unroll this into the parchment paper. So as I unrolled it, some of my pieces broke, and that's okay. Sometimes when it's not fully thawed, the pieces will break because remember in the box, they are kind of curled into like these log-like things. If you make a homemade pie crust, then you may not have this problem. But this is nothing to worry about. All we're gonna do is take our rolling pin and just kind of roll it over it so that it becomes nice and smooth again. So I'm gonna go ahead, get a rolling pin, and then make this crust into a smooth shape. So it's hard for me to film while doing this, so I'm just going to kind of walk you through it. So in order to roll it easily and not stick to anything, all I did was put another piece of parchment paper on top of my crust, and with my rolling pin, I'm just going to roll it into so that the whole crust is one and it's nice and smooth. So I'm going to go ahead and roll it. And as you can see, my crust is nice and smooth. Now, at this point, you can make any shape you want. I'm going to make rectangles. So I'm gonna go ahead and score and then cut this into thin rectangles. Now you can use anything you want to cut these. I'm using a pizza cutter. It's just easier to cut. And first I want to make like a rectangle shape. So I'm gonna cut off all the edges and then cut that into smaller rectangles. So let me go ahead and do that and then I'll show you. Okay, so now I have 8 rectangles right here, and I'm gonna go ahead and put this on a baking sheet and then put our preserves on top, put the other, so I'm gonna take this, put the preserves here, egg wash it, and put this on top, and then bake it. So I'm gonna do all that on a baking sheet that I want to bake on. That way I don't have to keep moving things around. So here I have my 4 small rectangles of the pie crust. I'm going to now put a dollop of the jam, the preserves, the cherry preserves in the middle, and then do an egg wash. So here I have my filling. I want a good amount of filling because I want the filling in every bite, but I don't want so much that it spills out and makes everything messy. So look at this, how I have it nice and centered, and hopefully it will not seep out. But even if it does, it's still fine. It's still delicious, you know, and the icing will cover any kind of flaw, so that's fine. But you do want to, you know, a filling to be in every bite when you take that bite. So let's go ahead and do our egg wash. And to do an egg wash, all you do is take the egg and beat it, and then using a pastry brush or your fingers, just spread it around the edges. And that will act like a glue. So when you put the top, then it will be a nice glue on top. Here's my egg wash, and here's my pastry brush that I keep for this occasion, and all I'm gonna do is just brush the sides and then put the other thing on top. So as I'm gonna go ahead and do all 4 and then show you the next step. So as you can see, I have put eggs washed around the edges, and now I'm gonna take my second piece and then just put it on top. And then with my fingers first, I'm gonna crimp all the edges, and then using a fork, I'm gonna make this look pretty. Okay, so using my fingers, I've crimped all the edges. Now with the fork, I'm gonna go ahead and make sure that they're sealed nice and tight. And this one I already can tell is gonna seep out because that top was a little bit smaller than the bottom, but that's okay. It will still, like I said, taste really good. Because I don't like to skimp on the filling. I don't want to just eat pie crust. I want to have that nice cherry filling. So it's okay if I stuff it a little bit extra. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and do all 4. And then I have my oven preheating at 425. And once it's preheated, I'm gonna go ahead and bake these. And that's it. And then we're gonna make our icing, which is super simple. It's just powdered sugar, a little cream or milk, whatever you have. And then I like to use a little bit of the, whatever filling I've used, so whatever preserve I've used, I like to use a little bit of that in the icing so that you know what it is and what the filling is inside. So I'm gonna add it like a little spoonful of cherry preserve, and I'll show you what I do there. But right now I'm gonna go ahead and crimp these edges nicely. So if you have a favorite pie you make, this is such a great way to make that pie into a small, like a handheld, and my oven is done, handheld things that is easily, you can transport it. So, and then you can make this as big as small as you want. You can even do a mini one, smaller than this, so it's like bite size, and that way, you know, you make a few different kinds of fillings and everybody can try new things, and you don't have to worry about the mess from cutting a pie and having plates and all of that. You just put this in a aluminum foil or Ziploc and you're good to go. So these are really great if you're picnicking or you're traveling or you just don't want to have a mess, or if you want to offer a few different flavors. Because like I said, I filled all with cherry, but I could have done 2 cherry, 2 strawberry, or 2 peach. Peach would be amazing. Or even orange marmalade. I mean, I said before, Nutella. So you can go crazy. And that way you don't have to make a big pie. Apple pie filling would be amazing. You don't have to make a big pie. You could just make a variety of flavors. So that way everyone's happy. Right, my oven is done, so I'm gonna go ahead and bake these until they're nice and golden brown. Okay, so now I'm going to go ahead and poke some holes on the top as well, which I forgot to do. That looks pretty. And then I'm gonna do an egg wash over the entire top. Now you can skip the egg wash if you have an egg allergy, or don't like the egg wash, but it just makes it a nice glue to stick the two things together. And also the egg wash on tops gives it a really nice shine. And my oven is preheated to 425. I'm gonna reduce that temperature to 400 now and bake this for about 12 minutes and then check it, and then bake it an additional 3 or 4 minutes if necessary, because I want it to be nice and golden brown. My timer just went off after 12 minutes and these are nice and golden brown, so I'm going to take them out of the oven. Okay, they look gorgeous and they're perfectly done. So 12 minutes at 400°F. Now I'm going to, and not too bad. On that corner I was worried about leaked just a little bit, and then a little bit of juice poked out of here, but that's all going to get covered by icing. So I want to let these cool completely before I put my icing on. So we're going to wait for these to cool down at least a half hour, but they look amazing. And I think it was good to cut them in half because this is the perfect size. So size-wise, they're about 4 inches this way and about 2.5 inches that way. So just to kind of give you an idea of how big they are. But I feel like this is a perfect size. Here is another really good combination. This is chocolate chips and caramel chips. You can also use peanut butter chips if you have them. But this tastes amazing. The combination of chocolate and caramel is delicious. So I'm gonna do the same with these. I'm going to put the egg wash and then put the tops on, and we're gonna bake these. So this is another really good combination. So to make the frosting, I have 1 cup of powdered sugar, and I'm gonna take a little bit of heavy whipping cream. You can also use milk. And I'm going to add 1 tablespoon at a time until I have like a nice flowy consistency. I'm also going to add about 1 tablespoon of the cherry preserves. Okay, so at the end, I ended up using 3 tablespoons of the heavy cream and 1 tablespoon of cherry preserves. And I like this thick consistency so that it doesn't drip over. So all I'm gonna do is take a spoon and just kind of ice the Pop-Tart. So I'm gonna take my frosting and I can drizzle it or I can spread it. It's totally up to you. You can even put it in like a piping bag and make a nice zigzag design. But why? We want this covered so you get lots of frosting. Now the one I'm making, my son wants sprinkles on top, so I'm gonna go ahead and add some sprinkles. And then the other one, I'm going to add some sliced almonds because cherry and almond go really nice together. And here are our 3 versions of our Pop-Tart. This is a cherry with a cherry frosting and some sprinkles. This is also a cherry with the cherry frosting and some dried cherries. And then this one, I didn't frost it because it's already sweet. It has chocolate and caramel on it. And before serving, I'll sprinkle some powdered sugar. But it has a really nice chocolate and caramel flavoring on it. Don't forget to share and subscribe to this channel, and happy baking.